Yay! Hi, I love you. I know we were just talking before, but I was saying that I had never led an in conversation before, but I'm glad you're my first. Because I love you.
I love you too. I'm glad. Oh my God, I'm so glad I'm your first. It makes me feel so.
We're so cheesy, but I love it.
And okay, at the same time.
Well,
but you're in charge.
I am in charge. I get to introduce you. It's because we were just, I wanted to modify this so much and I should have, but then, yeah, well, you know, I'm writing a book right now. So I feel like you don't need an introduction, but I will give it. PC Cast is a badass. She's a #1 New York Times and USA Today bestselling author. You were born in the Midwest, and after you were tour with U.S. Air Force, which is amazing, you taught high school for 15 years. And it's so funny. I'm just going to give my own dialogue here. It was like, she was like a legend in like our spheres. And like, I was a librarian for 5 years and everyone's like, you know, she taught school. Where like they couldn't believe someone who was like this famous author taught school for so long. I loved it. But that was always, you know, everyone knew that. And then you retired full time to write, which is amazing. Of course you did, because you were so busy. PC is a member of the Oklahoma Writers Hall of Fame, of course. Her novels have been awarded the prestigious Oklahoma Book Award. I have a story to tell you about that.
Oh, good.
You also a quick pick for reluctant readers. Romantic Times Reviewers' Choice Awards, Booksellers Best, and many, many more. Ms. Cass is an experienced teacher and talented speaker who lives in Oregon, no longer near me, in Oklahoma, near her fabulous daughter and her adorable pack of dogs, her crazy Maine Coon, and a bunch of horses, which I didn't know, but then I saw a picture of you with a horse.
Oh, yeah. I have, and my Maine Coon's back there. Can you guys see her? She's on her perch back there. Is there enough light?
Oh my God, I do.
Yeah, see, she's on her perch.
She's like, I will, yeah.
I will.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's what Zena's like.
Owns
don't
the
bother
house.
me, I'm napping.
Wait, what is her name?
Xena Warrior Princess Cast.
Okay. I was like, it better be a goddess. I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny because, of course, we're here to talk about Into the Mist, which is your newest book that just released, which was like delightfully gory. And I messaged you and said that because I was like, I didn't expect it, but I absolutely loved it. Because the fun part about Into the Mist was like how it just started out like so grounded in reality and fun and yeah, and then all of a sudden it was like horror, and I was like, oh my God. So I just loved it. So I found so many elements that I could relate to, especially because I felt like it was like this feminist anthem. And I told you the other day, I was like doing a lot of research on the patriarchy. So I thought that was so interesting. But I guess we should start out with why you wrote Into the Mist, because I did read that you wanted a fantasy that sort of included characters that you could relate to. And then I was curious, in addition to that, like why you wrote it and then what drew you to apocalyptic fiction. Yeah, because you write so many like urban, I mean, I guess this is kind of urban fantasy, but you know.
It is kind of urban. Why I wrote this particular book, well, this one and the sequels, Out of the Dawn, why I wrote them was because it was spring of 2020 during our apocalypse, the very beginning of the Rome, and then here in the Pacific Northwest, we had those massive wildfires that surrounded Portland. And we couldn't get away from the fires. We couldn't get away from Portland was only threatened by the fires. We did not have the fires, thankfully, here in Portland. But we had the smoke apocalypse that the fires brought. And Scarlett, it was like weeks that during the summer, that the weather forecast was forecasting like 90 degrees. And it was like 62, 63 when you went outside, because the smoke was horrible, and we weren't supposed to go outside. And I had just had surgery on my shoulder from a horse accident.
Oh my God.
Like, you had horses? Yes. But
You're
I
like,
even
yes,
had a
and
right
they
shoulder
hurt. I get
glaucoma.
injured all the time.
I got hurt.
I should
But I had
You're from
surgery,
Oklahoma, so
right? I'd had surgery right before the Rona. I flew home to have surgery, and I flew back February on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2020. And I remember being worried when I was flying back about this virus that might be coming over here. And I had like lavender antibiotic wipes that I wiped down the plane with. I thought I was being real safe to do that. Okay. Not a clue about everything airborne around me. So just I was wiping off the plane, which is always good to do because they're gross. Anyway, but so I came home and then the Rona hit, which was horrible. And I had these deadlines and I tried to write and I could not. For the first time since, well, I wrote my first book in first grade. So for the first time since first grade, I couldn't write. And someone in the business I knew then said, I was freaked out. Someone in the business said, it's existential dread. And we're all dealing with existential dread. Be kind to yourself. And I was recovering from this, from my shoulder thing, which is fine now, you guys. I'm fine. And everyone's always worried about that. Like, no, I'm okay. Look, I can move my arm. I can
because it's attached to your hands, and you write with it.
So I could not write. So I sat on the couch and I smoked weed, did a bunch of edibles, ate cheese. Okay. Because cheese, I'm vegan. I don't usually eat any dairy. And I ate cheese because I thought the world was ending. I was like, what the fuck? I'm just going to eat cheese. And drink wine and watched I binged TV. But it wasn't when the smoke started, when the smoke surrounded us, I kind of freaked out because it's hard to see because I'm old now. But when I was 4, I was in a really bad fire with my family. And I have a scar on my face. I have scars several places in my body that are now because I'm old. They're all faded. But the PTSD part did not fade very well. So I was freaked out. And I was like, I have to escape this in some way to remain mentally healthy. So I thought, you know what? I wrote my first book, Goddess by Mistake, or Divine by Mistake, eventually is what it was, the title, to escape from a really horrible marriage. And I thought, I wonder if it would work the same way. Can I escape like this? And the book I wrote to escape the horrible marriage was the exact book I wanted to read. It was high fantasy with a modern hero that had kind of time traveled or traveled to this fantasy dimension. And I loved those, but I didn't see many high fantasy books then in like the late 1900s with characters with whom I could identify. Like if you'd pulled me over into a fantasy world, first of all, I would drink too much. It's just a thing. I'm sure I would. Okay, under stress.
That was a common theme in Into the Mist.
Right? And you also can't drink the water for God's sake. What are you going to hydrate with? So, and I want to know what about the bathroom? Okay. What about my period? Am I going to have to strap some rabbit skin between my legs? My God, what's going to happen? And especially,
you see, Cass, answering the questions we all need answers to.
But, especially male-written fantasy, which, men dominated fantasy for decades and decades, they never addressed those things. I know, it's shocking. Yeah. But so I wrote,
why?
The book I wanted
to read. They have no clue.
Right? I wrote Divine by Mistake to escape, and because I wanted to see women that I could empathize with as leads in these books. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do the same damn thing right now. And I love apocalyptic novels, love them, but I rarely see, real apocalyptic novels, not like a fantasy apocalypse world. like my Tales of a New World is a post-apocalypse, but it's really high fantasy because it takes place like 500 years after the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe I can escape this time by writing the book that I most want to read that I can't find. And so that's what I did. So when people are like, it's a feminist manifesto, I'm like, no, it's an escape from existential dread. It is a reaction to the Trump years and the idiocy and hatred that he has allowed to be cool, or well, he thought at least. He might not be thinking that right now.
No.
Go FBI. Yeah.
I know.
But and it was just a thing for me. So mine is a PC apocalypse.
I love that. PC apocalypse.
It starts with teachers
TM
from Oklahoma. And the teachers from Oklahoma are right here in just like an hour away from me right now in Timberline when the apocalypse happens. And it's really more of a fantasy that I think that a whole bunch of women are going to be able to see themselves in. And there's wine, women, and weed. So
another trademark from PC Cast. No, I love it. And I know you said like it's not like a feminist manifesto, but I definitely felt like everything, because everything that they talked about was something that I had felt, especially in the last 2 years. I don't know, it was just really nice to see that like we all kind of feel the same way in some ways. We're all tired. We're all, but on the flip side, like these women definitely like knew how to stand up for themselves. I felt like it was a world that like, this is the world that you live in. Like if you exist in, like, this is how you exist in the world as like PC Cast. I was like, she definitely like embodies these traits in my head. Like, you know, I don't know. It was, I really loved that part. Also,
well, I went back to what I did with Divine by Mistake. The heroine was really just a version of me, my belief system, me kind of, you know, that kind of thing. And I populated that book with friends and family. And that's exactly what I did with Into the Mist and Out of the Dawn, which I just finished, Out of the Dawn. And
I can't believe that. I'm like, what? How did you do this so fast?
Yeah. They're all like, Mercury is very reminiscent of me as a teacher. And
I felt like that.
All of her people. Yeah. All of her, like Stella is based on one of my very best friends. I know a lot of Karen. Yeah,
we
I
all know
Gemma.
a lot of Karen.
I know, right?
I populated about her. I
populated it with like, people I knew.
Yeah.
I did not. Okay. None of them were named. None of the names are similar though, because I learned that lesson in House of Night.
I know. We just talked about that.
I know, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because one of my questions, hold on, I've got to find it because I wrote a bunch of things here and you went out of order. It's fine. I was all over the place. So when you created each of these characters, and then how did you choose which powers they sort of took on? And then I have a lot of questions about this because like the DNA, like the blood, like, you know, sprouts can grow things, you know, and I was like, this feels like very divine, like has a lot of divine energy, like goddess energy to it. So I was kind of and like intuition is a power, and I've been really interested in that because I think like that's part of female magic, and we don't think about these things of being our divine powers, but I really feel like they are. So I was really curious about how you chose to do that and where you pulled from.
Well, when I created the cast of characters, the main cast of characters, I just made sure that they each embodied one of, as you put it very well, as one of the powers I believe that we have as women. And that over the generations, we've been told so many times, oh no, you're hysterical because, you know, you feel like this is going to and then it happened, and then you're like, holy fuck, it happened. Why didn't someone listen to me? Oh, you're a hysterical woman.
Yeah.
You know, we have been trained by the patriarchy for so damn long to ignore our guts and to ignore many of our strengths. Like even Mercury, her biggest strength is physical, and she doesn't even understand that strength has been augmented, because for her whole life, being a physically strong woman was not like it wasn't cool. It wasn't it wasn't something that people were like, I mean, if it had been a big dude, everyone would have known he's this big dude and look at my big muscles. Well, Mercury works her ass in the gym, and she's a strong woman. And she doesn't even know until, what is it? It's like almost halfway through the book, that bridge scene.
Yeah.
Is like halfway through the book. She doesn't even realize that her physical powers have been augmented. And of course, someone had to be intuitive. Stella's very intuitive. Yeah. And you will find that, and even Karen, who I ended up loving.
I know.
Karen ends up being a spiritualist. I mean, she sees spirit. And Imani, oh my gosh, Imani.
I love her.
You get a whole bunch more about what changes have happened to them in book 2. And you find out in book 2 that you're absolutely right, that this apocalypse that happened, the bombs were man-made, and the chemical weapon was man-made, but the old gods and goddesses got sick of all this shit going on and decided to step in and get rid of the patriarchy, and let's see what the matriarchy can do now. And you find out more and more of that in the book.
I love this so much. I feel like you and I, it's so funny that Oklahoma produced us, because we are so different from the majority there. But so, yeah, it's so interesting, because I felt like throughout the book, there's that dynamic too between, I feel like, Mercury, who's very spiritual, and Karen, who starts out to being very Christian. And I loved the whole conversation they had in the it wasn't a hotel, it was like the lodge. But I love that conversation. Right. Yeah. I love the conversation that they had about like their different belief systems and stuff, because I come from a background of spiritualism where, I believe in a God and like a power, but not in the same way that a Christian does. Right. So I love like that, all of that threading through, but I was curious. I've never asked you about your spiritual background, but I know you're very witchy. And so I'm just like, have you always had an affinity for witchy things? Like, has this always sort of been, or, like how did you get into this sort of goddessy vibe and, that sort of, because the other day we hopped on a call and I was like, yeah, I just have this altar over here of lit candles to, get my vibe going for writing. And you're like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I have like 4 of them. Yeah. And one specifically in my office. Yeah.
I love it.
If I was in the living room right now, I could turn it around and show you my main altar, but I'm in the dining room and you can just see my cat.
The cat is great. The cat is a goddess.
Yeah, she is. I might get up in a little while and take this over there and let you guys get a better look.
We would all love that.
But no, I've been a pagan for decades, for a long, long, long time. I appreciate Jesus, and I appreciate him as a teacher and a great man. And I really wish Christians would reread the words in red, read those, okay? And try to act like that. Because, and P.S., he wasn't white.
Yeah. I know.
But no, I've been, right? Actually, P.S., there are probably no white people in the Bible. Just saying.
So true.
But no, I've been pagan for a long time. I'm more like a Bardic Druid kind of belief system, very heavy in I go back to my ancestry, my Celtic ancestry. And I've been openly practicing for decades, but that was very difficult when I was teaching in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because people are fired for that kind of stuff. I mean, religious freedom in the Bible Belt in Oklahoma in particular is only religious freedom, mostly for evangelical Christians. Catholics don't even kind of get a nod there. You know, that's a little too out there, too far. But no, I've been a pagan for a long time.
You know, being psychic in Oklahoma is illegal. Literally, it is in the laws. And my bonus mom is a psychic.
And God, I didn't know Kristen is so she is more intuitive than I am. And maybe because I didn't squash hers when she was young. Right. But she's very, very psychic and very into, if she says something like, I think you should pay attention to such and such, I make sure I pay attention to it. And no, I've read the Bible many times. I even took a class in college, Old Testament as literature, and appreciate Christ's words. I do not appreciate most Christians, so
well,
I don't appreciate.
I love the journey, like with Mercury too, because I just felt I definitely felt like in the story, like I just imagined her as you the whole time, which because she's so strong and she's a badass, and she's, you know what I loved about all these women, well, I mean, most of them, Karen I think gets there, but they're very certain of themselves, and we don't see a lot of literature.
Karen ends up being my like one of my very favorite characters.
I know.
And Karen remains a Christian. Karen does not lose. She's awesome. She does not lose her faith at all.
No.
All she learns to do is she opens her heart to other belief systems and begins to understand that it's not her place to judge them. Right. But it's her place. She actually uses Christ's words in book 2 to justify how she's come to terms with the fact that she can now literally see spirit, because she can see spirit. And I love Karen. My favorite scene in book 2 is when Karen finally dances.
It gives me chills, because I think the beauty of what you did there is, like, you aren't saying that one is wrong over the other. You're just asking for understanding. Yep. And I think that's what we need most right now. I mean, in the pandemic, I think we can all relate to into the mist because we experienced the trauma of going through something like that. And we talk a lot about how my bonus mom and I, the psychic, we talk a lot about how people are traumatized and they're hurt, and they do seek profits and you did that, which I think is so interesting with the mayor, and people sort of create themselves. You know what it reminded me of? That pastor who is doing witch hunts in his own church. It's kind of, I don't know, in my brain, I was like, I'm going to make that parallel, but we have modern day witch hunts all the time. And I feel like when we're under pressure like this, we can turn into that in society. So it's just an interesting
I make a big deal out of, like, in book 2, you see how characters' choices and who they are at their core really informs any biological changes made by this mist. And you see that big time. You see what happens to Eva in book 2 has a lot to do with the mayor, has a lot to do with her personal choices. And she is changed. She goes into the mist on purpose, and twice actually. And she is changed by it. And I will share that I think some of the grossest scenes I've ever written are in this book too.
You're preparing me for it. I was just not prepared for people to literally turn into jelly. I was like, Okay, the one thing I love about, I mean, I loved a lot of things about this book, because I feel like, I know, of course, you wrote the book you wanted to read, but it can speak to people in so many different ways. And I loved that people, I could tell everyone was a teacher because they kept encouraging each other. They were all like, you're doing great. And I loved it so much. I just thought this is so true to the other thing I loved is when Imani,
she's a librarian.
Yeah. I loved when Imani, like I forgot her name. She goes to leave her daughter at the lodge. Oh yeah,
Gemma.
And she's like, this is crazy white woman shit. And I was like,
yes, I'm crazy.
Yeah, because I didn't understand it either. I was like, why are you leaving? Why? But I loved how I don't know. I don't know, but it was interesting because she felt very motherly, and this other woman it was two dynamics. It was like this person, they're both mothers, but this person was going to leave her daughter for her husband. It was just interesting to see that. And
her husband, who's probably
dead. Yes.
You can't save him.
No. And it was so contrary. I guess I drew parallels to this idea that women often sacrifice themselves for their children. And here we had a woman who was sacrificing herself for a man in a society that, where men don't value the women in our society, essentially. Yep. I might be getting too existential on that, but I just thought it was so interesting.
True, though. Very true.
I want to know, I said to me, you feel like Mercury a lot, but who do you feel like you relate to most in your power team of women?
Totally Mercury.
Okay.
Totally Mercury.
I feel like I'm right, but I don't want to be wrong.
Completely. No, totally Mercury. And Stella is really based on one of my very best longtime friends.
I loved her.
Back in Tulsa. Did you get a copy that has did you get a finished copy that has the illustrations in it?
I don't think so. I think I have an arc.
Oh, no, it doesn't have the illustrations in it. The illustrations are...
I'll buy one. I'm going to the bookstore on Saturday.
Okay.
Hey, but you have to sign it.
I will. I'm trying to think if I have a copy of it up here because I would show you guys.
My Kindle has them. No, I know what you're talking about.
But the illustrations, they were done by one of my very best friends, longtime friends, Kim Donor. She's a artist in Tulsa, and she actually used some pictures of like who the real people are, the characters are based on. Only
your friends?
Younger versions. Changed. Yeah, and she changed, and she knows all the people because she's been my friend for like 30 years. So yeah, it's really cool, and there's a beautiful map in it too. And that
I love Imani. Yes, Imani. Yes.
Yeah, I love Imani too.
I got the Kindle because I don't sit down and read physical books very often. But yes, no, I loved these. I can't wait to have to get a physical copy with them in there because they are beautiful. And that was so unexpected and such a cool way to, I don't know, to me that added like depth to everyone because you can see them. It's almost like looking into their eyes.
I love Crooked Lane. That they commissioned Kim to do do 5 main characters. And they were commissioning it for
Stella.
For like Stella. Yep, that's Stella.
I love her. Anyway,
they commissioned it for like an added content for like an extra for like a Walmart copy or a Barnes and Noble special edition. And when she turned in the illustrations, they loved them so much that they were like, no, we're just putting these in the book. So I hope that they do updated ones for book 2, like especially because that's Mercury. Yeah, that's kind of a little familiar. But I hope they do it for book 2 because some of the characters have changed physically. So
I just think this is I don't know. I just think it's the coolest thing. Like everything about the way this world is working, and I love the idea of building breaking down the patriarchy and building a matriarch. And we were talking the other day, this is so hard because some of these conversations we've had, but about how the patriarchy was formed, and it was sort of the systematic silencing of women. And one of the things I had read in that book that I suggested, which was that they started with medicine. Men sort of infiltrated medicine, and they dominated medicine when women used to be the healers. And then that, you get into that situation. Right.
And then vilified and made them out to be witches. And for instance, one of the main plagues was caused because by men killing women's familiars, killing women's cats, and then mice and rats went crazy. And of course, we know that's how plague spreads. Or that's how plague begins and then spreads. Yeah. But yeah, you take over that, vilify women and shut them up, and, do what too many parts of the world, especially America, is doing right now. Make sure that we stay barefoot and pregnant so that we lose our voices.
That is a sign of abuse in, relationships where men keep their women pregnant so they can't leave.
Yep.
So I don't know. I love that. So I'm going to go down to these questions because you had them even before you actually were here, which I think is hilarious.
Cool.
And someone said,
I can't see you guys. I can't see your questions, you guys, because I don't have my glasses on, because you'll see the donut light if I on. So I'm counting on Scarlett. Go ahead.
I love this. PC Cast in caps. Does the nickname Acorn, or is that personal or something you just came up with? That's from Coral.
No, I just came up. Hi, Coral. That's Coral.
She's
Garcia.
wonderful.
I love you, Coral. Yes, she is. She's on my street team too.
And I told you, I was like, I'm pretty sure she's in my Facebook group, but I was like, we share that reader.
I love it when we share readers. Acorn, I just came up with that. My nickname when I was a kid was Bugs, B-U-G-S. My dad still calls me Bugsy old girl. No,
that's
Acorn
adorable.
It's just her hair. Yeah, no, I made that up. Belote.
I love that. Did you know the ending? Did you know the ending of the book, aka when you know what happens, or did it surprise you? So did you know where you were going?
Yes. I knew the beginning of this book and the ending of the first book. I knew the beginning of the second book and the ending of the second book. And then I always get weird little scenes in between. Mm-hmm. And there are 2 scenes that are in book 2 that I got before I even started writing book 1. But I always have the beginning and the end when I start.
Do you? So you've been writing for a really long time? Has that how your writing process has always been, or has it changed over time?
Yes, that's how it's always been, except that I used to never outline. And working, when you're a co-author, mm-hmm. It's really smart. You have to outline. Kristen and I outline literally chapter by chapter. We even write dialogue in our outlines.
You told me that.
Yeah, I hate it so much, but it works really well. And then I learned from House of Night that it is an enormous mistake to write a series without an outline. Oh my God, just to be like,
I don't know how you keep it all straight.
It's so hard. It's so hard. You have to have an outline, and it's even a help when you're writing, as you probably already know, when you're writing fairly big series, to have a research assistant who can but I want them physical. I don't want them. So I'm going to say binders, because it's just me. Because it's more tactile. I want to touch them and I want to write on them and stuff. But like for Tales of a New World, I hired a research assistant, an English teacher, and she was in my class. I taught her actually in now she's an English teacher, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, Rachel Forrester. Oops, sorry.
I love this.
I have my phone's on. But she like went through Tales of the New World and did like, these are Tribe of the Trees members, these are Earth Walkers, these are Skin Stealers, these are Wind Riders. And she did, and here's how far this is from here to here, and all that kind of stuff. And I am right now, I've hired someone to be my research assistant with, I'm getting ready to start the first of my big Ancient Queens manuscripts, Boudica. Well, I have like 150 pages of it done. But
I wondered if you would talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. So it'll be like 600 pages. So I've hired a research assistant who's a scientist, actually, who's going to help me make sure that all my, it's very important to me when I write something that's based on history, that the historical aspect is as correct as I can make it. It's also important to me to have a good biological basis for so much of what I do. And my dad taught biology for like, I think 250 years. And so high school biology. So he helps me a lot. Actually, I taught with my dad for a decade. He and I taught the same high school for a decade together.
Oh, this is adorable.
It was a blast. Oh my God, we had so much fun. But no, it's my process is the same, but how I perform that process is different because I've learned ways to make my life easier after like 50 books or something.
We need to learn those ways.
It's hard.
Be my mentor. I know.
You've got it. I am.
Okay, so what Sedona meant is, did you know you were going to do that to you know who? And everyone was very sad about it.
I love you, Sedona. Yes, I did. I knew at the very beginning I was going to do that to you know who.
I don't know if we should spoiler it, so.
We can't spoiler it. I also knew that you would see him again. You'll see him again. He's going to be different, but you'll see him again. You're going to love it. I promise.
I don't know why, but I was like, for a moment, it was like tears. Okay, well, everyone is happy in the comment section, and I am.
But you guys know that if I bring that particular person back, that someone not so good is probably going to also have to come back, right?
We know. We know how you work.
Okay.
Balance is a theme I like in all books, even if it pisses me off. I don't know if I want to ask one of my questions or one of these questions. I mean, you taught and wrote at the same time, published books at the same time. Did you, how was that?
It sucked. Yeah. It was my 18th book. It sucked. It was sucky. It always makes me laugh when people say that I was able to quit teaching or retire from teaching to write full time, because I've been writing for 3 publishers, Berkeley, Harlequin, and St. Martin's, and teaching full time for years before I quit. It was my 18th book published that finally chosen. House of Night, 3rd book in a House of Night, chosen, debuted on the New York Times bestseller list, and changed my life. 18 books.
Change your bio. Let's rewrite your bio to include
that. Want to rewrite my bio?
Yeah.
Okay.
18.
So no, it was really good. 18 books. I drank too much, and I had to stop that because I had to change to water or tea while I write, because I'd come home from teaching, and those of us who have taught or been librarians in the school system know that there's something in my family, because I'm from a family of teachers, it's a genetic deficiency. But it's called the
deficiency.
We call it the teacher tapeworm, because you're always super hungry when you get done teaching. So you run home and you eat early. So I used to run home and eat while I watched Oprah, and open a box of wine. Okay, mind you.
I have one right here.
Yeah, if Kristen was here, she would say Franzia Chablis.
She needs to be here.
I know, right? Right here, Kristen, right here. But I would come home from school, give myself an hour to watch Oprah and have something to eat, and then I would start writing, and I'd write mostly till bedtime. And I did that year after year after year after year. Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Sucks real bad.
I actually think the first book I read of yours was the Goddess series, the like Goddess of Spring and that series. I loved them.
I know you.
And I talk about them all the time. And I'm like, I need you to listen to me. Because they were so good. It's so strange, like when you love something so much, and you know, House of Night was fantastic too. And I don't know, it's so funny because we, you know, like you're introduced to us in a certain way, and then we think of you as like forever having the success, but really there was like years and years of work behind it. But it's inspiring to so many people who want to do this, you know. And I definitely never thought I would be here talking to you. I would text my friend and I was like, I get to be live with PC Castigan. What's my life? I know it's ridiculous, but like, you know, you're my favorite, so.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Let's see.
And I have read all, and you guys, you need to know I've read all of her books, every one.
Yeah.
Okay, every single one, even the new YA that just came out, just like a week or so, 2 weeks ago.
I can't believe you read it.
I loved it. I loved it. Yep.
That book. I loved what you said though. You were like, you said I was gross. You were like, you have threads going into eyeballs. And I was like, well, I just didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, you guys, she emails me and she's like, oh my God, this is like straight up horror.
I loved it.
People into jelly. And I was like, you are so gross. Don't talk to me about it. I've read all your books.
I never thought about it that way. Someone wants to know if you went to teacher conferences at the lodge you picked for the book. And you already said that the people are based off of real people, so you answered that one.
Yeah, but they don't.
I looked at that too.
So
yeah. Well, we learned our lesson.
I did. We learned our lesson about that. I have gone to teacher conferences before. I never got to go to a cool one like out of state, like in Timberline, because they never let me teach most of those teachers that get to do that kind of stuff are usually teaching like honors and AP and that kind of stuff, those subjects. They never let me teach those subjects. I always had the problem children. Okay.
Oh,
I always had,
because you're a badass.
Well, people would like transfer kids into my classroom that like were assholes with all the other teachers, and the principal used to come pull me out of my class and say, okay, I have an exchange to make. This kid can't get along with Marcy Kerr. That's another English teacher. That's a real name, by the way. No offense, Marcy, but I mean, this really happened. This kid couldn't get along with Marcy Kerr. Will you take him in your class? I said, what do you have to trade? Because it would be something, not a kid. I wasn't trading kids. I was trading things like, can I go on a field trip? Do I get some new books? I need some erasers, that kind of stuff. And he'd bring, I'd get whatever I asked, whatever I negotiated, right? They'd bring the kid in and I would just tell him, look, just treat me with respect and I'll treat you with respect. I also will promise try not to bore you. And if you have to go to the bathroom, for God's sake, just ask. Okay? Because these teachers
You're a Hades.
who
bargained your way into
I bargained my way totally to, and the kid would be like, okay. And then he'd come sit down and zero problem for me. Zero problem. And also, teachers need a good teacher will understand that it's totally cool if you have some kids who who are standing up in the back of your class because their ADD is driving them freaking crazy and they need to move. And some kids learn better while they're sketching. And some kids learn better while they're listening to music. And some kids cannot fucking hold still. So those kids, you have to be like, you are my runner for today. I need you to go get this, 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 and this for me. And I will give you the notes from whatever's going on while you're gone. I love teaching. I love my classroom. I love my students. I used to tell them first day of school, every day, every year, first day of school, I always get the best, the most creative kids in the school. In the school, I always get the best, most creative kids. And when you tell teenagers that kind of stuff and treat them like that, they believe you. Yeah. And they act like that. My room was always filled from all the walls, hanging from the ceilings everywhere with their artwork, with their projects, with their cool stuff. And yeah, I used to leave my room unlocked all the time. I never got anything stolen out of my room. I asked the kids one time, I said, guys, like 5 teachers have had their purses ripped off, but I don't even lock my room. What the hell? And some kid went, and I said, yeah. And he said, because we're afraid you'll hunt us down and kill us if we do that. And I went, oh my God, that's so sweet. Thank you.
I hope you use that in a book.
I'm sure I will. Okay, I'm sure.
I love that because, first of all, Karen Gay, I had a teacher, my second grade teacher was Miss Gay, and that's all I could think about was her the whole time when I was reading about Karen. But, you know, I never, until college, I'd never had teachers who understood that kids learn in different ways. And, like, you know, I had a friend who had to learn, she would doodle while she listened, and that's how she internalized things. Never in high school, though. Let's see. Oh. Will you ever consider returning to the Goddess Summoning series or the Divine series? You can talk more about the other series you're working on. My eyebrows don't move very well because I get Botox.
I can't get Botox because my face goes, it falls if I get Botox, so I can scowl and do all that cuss, but then I also have wrinkles.
You can't see them.
I love my Goddess Summoning series, and I love Partholon, and I've had Ciara's Destiny in my head for what you guys know, like 2 decades or something crazy like that. When you're a traditionally published author like me, we write what publishers put us under contract for, and because if we don't, it's like, and I just did this with my 4th Tales of the New World book because Macmillan did not put me under contract for 4, and I needed to finish that series for you guys. So I wrote a 600+ page book, Earth Called. It will be out. Ooh, I just got the release date for it, 5/30/23. Yeah, they just sent it to me. I just saw it this morning. 5/30/23 is, and the title's changed from Earthwalker to Earth Called. So
I love it.
I know Scarlett knows this, that when you're traditionally published author, if you write a book that is not sold to a publisher, or one that you are pretty sure won't be sold to a publisher, it's like taking on a second job for no money at all, working your ass off on this second job, just hoping maybe someday you might get paid for it.
Like my whole life.
Yes, that's what happens. And because I am a self-supporting author, I don't have any other jobs. I do not have, currently I have a man friend, but no man will ever support me. I support myself. I love you. And I support other people too. And so it's difficult for me to write a book that hasn't been put under that I'm not contracted for. And also that I am very sure won't be. Like, Berkeley published all my Goddess Summoning books. I know if I wrote, I always wanted to retell Aida's story. If I retold Aida's story and took it to Berkeley, I promise you that they would not publish it. I promise you I would get I don't know, these are old. And same thing with Ciara's Destiny. Harlequin published those. Harlequin's Luna line published those, the fantasy line. I don't even know if Luna is still a thing.
I was going to ask you that. Are they still a thing?
I don't think Luna is still. Their fantasy line ended. But if I took it to Harlequin and showed it to him, yeah. But you guys,
I know
it sucks. That part sucks because I would love to write Ciara's Destiny. I do not have time. I don't have time to do it. And that's why it took me so long to get Earthwalker done, because I had to write it literally as a second job between all the other jobs. And I'm always writing at least 2 books, one by myself and one with Kristen. And maybe someday one with Scarlett St.
Hey,
Clair.
we are planning.
We're discussing. That's right. But I do have a brand new contract, and I'm going to give voice to ancient queens, starting with Boudica. She'll be my first one, and then Skyatch from House of Night. I'm going to tell her real story. So those are the first 2.
For that, it gives me chills. Because here's the thing,
I love it. I love them.
Yeah, and y'all just need to like look at the female power in Into the Mist, and it's just going to be like multiplied in that series. And I'm like, it's going to be so great. I'm so excited.
Boudica. Oh. Yep.
It's just was the
first. She was the first queen. She was a queen of the Celts, and in 60 and 61 AD, she united all the Celtic tribes against Rome, because she was queen of the. It's fantastic. She was the Iceni queen who the Romans were so patriarchal, they were pissed off that she was queen. So when they came around to collect taxes, they decided to teach her a lesson, and they flogged her in front of her tribe, and they raped her 2 young daughters. And they thought that would teach her a lesson. And girl, instead, she gathered an army of about 350,000 people and kicked ass.
I cannot wait. Can I say the other one you told me about in Greek mythology? You're gonna tell Medea.
Medea.
Yeah.
I so many.
I was like, I don't know how much we're telling people.
Yeah, we can tell. I haven't been put under contract for Medea yet, but I do have Boudica and Scott. So that's why, you guys, that's why I can't just be like, yeah, I know what needs to happen in Ciara's Destiny. And of course, those fantasy books are like 140,000 words or something like that. I can't do that and support myself and also meet my contractual requirements that keep the roof up here over my head. and that cat back there in food. Before we go, I'll carry this back and say hi to Zena.
Oh, yes. I think it's so important to talk about like the realities of publishing, because I know a lot of people don't understand why books don't come out faster, why series can't continue. I tell people all the time, there's this environment now on TikTok where it's popular to return ebooks, right? And people are, losing sales because people will read an ebook and return it. And that's how series die. If you really want to support us as authors and see our series continue, it has to be purchased either by you or by a library, but you can't download it illegally. And I'm all about access, right? Which is why I wholly believe in libraries. And my library system will do anything to get books, but it's really hard when we want to continue a series, but we have no obligation to do it via a publisher. It was different when I was self-published, but not so much, because I wouldn't work on anything that didn't make me money.
You have to be paid for your work. You have to support yourself.
Yeah.
And they don't understand. Like someone on Twitter the other day made this big thread about authors, pay attention. Readers like numbers on the spine. We hate that when we're trying to read what the book's about, all there are reviews and blurbs. And there was something else. Oh, and
why don't you tell the publishers? Tell the publishers.
What I said, why are
it's
you
not the authors?
It's not the authors. We want those things too, okay? Yeah. And even someone who has 25 million books in print can't force them to do that. I mean, look at the spine of Sisters of Salem. There's no 1, 2, and 3 on that spine. I asked for them to be numbered and not numbered.
And let me tell you, I wish as a librarian, if the numbers aren't on the spine, it's so frustrating because we have to put them in alphabetical order instead. And then you can't visually, readers cannot figure out how to read the books. And so it's poor customer service to not do it, but it's not from lack of authors not wanting those things.
No, I have heard
wrong person, y'all.
Wrong person. I've heard from sales departments from major publishers who have said to me, no, because we want, if people pick up book 3 of a series and buy it and bring it home and they're like, oh my God, this is book 3, we'll run back and get book 1 and 2. And I said, that doesn't happen. It does the opposite. It pisses people off.
And in a library, if you do that, they'll choose not to pick up the series. If they don't see the first book or the first book's not there, they'll just not read it. So, I really wish that publishers understood information seeking behavior more. Those are some library terms. Yeah. But yeah, it just frustrates me. Yeah. One last question for you. Mm-hmm. Do you have advice for aspiring authors? I do. So interesting.
I'm going to give the best advice I ever got. Teresa Miller, who used to be executive director of Oklahoma Poets and Writers Association. She taught a creative writing class at OSU Tulsa that I took twice. She likes to say she flunked me. That's why I took it twice. It's not true. I audited both of them. I'd already had my BA by that time. I wrote Divine by Mistake in her first semester and Divine by Choice in the second semester. I just pretend like she was my editor. She gave me this advice and I took it. She said that if you are an aspiring author, the first thing you need to do is what you would do for any other career. Educate yourself about the process of publishing. Educate yourself about how long is a standard book for whatever genre you're looking at, because it changes. Depending on your genre and who you're writing for and what you're writing. Know how books get from, first of all, you don't call them a book until they're published and they're on the shelf. That's a manuscript. Okay, it's a manuscript. Know what happens, how does a manuscript get from here to the shelf? Know what agents actually do. Know what editors actually do. Know what publishers do. Know manuscript format. Know how to submit your manuscript to your agent, your editor, and all that. Know about it. People, it's like this. You wouldn't walk into a dentist office and say, hi, I want to drill some teeth. Can you show me how, dentist? Let me go do it. When people are like, help get me published. I'm like, first of all, I can't help get you published. I cannot help get you published. But an agent can, and you need to know why an agent can, and you need to know who needs an agent. And I've had people say to me before, well, where can I send my book so that an editor can fix it? Okay, that doesn't happen.
No.
Editors don't fix our books. Sadly, editors don't fix our books. Okay.
You can have a really great editor.
They don't fix punctuation. It would be great if you could just write some draft and then say, here you go. They don't do that. So if you know the business of publishing, if you know that, you're a step ahead of so many nascent authors who just are looking through rose-colored glasses and doing their whole, I'm gonna wait till the muse whispers to me about this. That also doesn't really happen. But that's it. Know your audience, or no, not your audience. Know your audience too, but know your career. Know the ins and outs of it. Know whether you want to be traditionally published. Do you want to be a career author? If you want to be a career author, you need an agent. Period. If you want to be a career author, you need an agent. If you want to be a hobbyist, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a hobbyist, then you probably don't need an agent, and you can exist being self-published. And there are a lot of self-published authors. Our fabulous Scarlett is one. Yep. Who parlays her self-publishing into an extremely lucrative career.
It was
But
a lot of work.
Yes. And in order to do that, you need to know what you are doing and also what your goal is. Do you want to eventually be published by New York? Or do you just, want to put out a book or two a year? And so know your work. Do what you would do for any other career. Don't get wrapped up in the romanticism and the fantasy of being an author, because it's a fantastic job, but it is hard as hell.
It is so fucking hard.
Right? We do this all the time. We call each other and go, writing is hard.
I know. I'm like, why did I want to do this? Like,
why am I doing this?
I hate myself so much right now.
And then you write the end, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this is the best job in the world.
Exactly. It's like, once you're at the end of the book, you're like, yes, I am a genius. But,
oh, good. I am a goddess. Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true.
Would you guys like to say, do you want me to carry you over to see Zena?
Yes.
To say bye? Okay, here, let's
everyone already said it. I speak for everyone on this chat.
Okay, here we go. Let's see, she's probably going to be real. Oh, look at this cool piece of art behind me. She's probably going to be real grumpy. Okay. Let's see.
I just want to walk through your house.
What? Are you going to talk?
Is that creepy?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're beautiful. Hi, Zena.
Oh, there. Here we go. Hi.
Oh my gosh. You're so fluffy.
Here.
She's like, I hate this. She hates it.
There. Princess.
Oh, you're so beautiful.
Oh my
gosh.
She's huge too. She's the main coon. She's like, no. She's like, no. Here, you guys can see my wall of art.
I love it. I have a wall like that.
I like to pretend
well.
I love big walls of art. I love big walls.
Did I send you a picture of my wall? I need to.
Send me a picture of your wall.
I'm going to. Well, I think, are we done? This will not be the last time. I know, I think our time is up. This will not be the last time I speak with you. But I love you so much.
I love you so much too. And you guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who came, and thank you to Barbara's Bookstore. And you guys, there are links in the chat for you to buy PC Cast's book, which you absolutely should. And is the other one up for pre-order yet?
No, not yet. It isn't. The other one hasn't even been turned in yet.
Well, my books go up for pre-order before I even write them. So
that's like,
I know. Well, you'll let us know, I'm sure.
I will. I'll post. Okay.
Awesome.
And you guys check out Scarlett's books. Okay. She's awesome. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. And I'll send you that stuff too. And
yes,
thank you so much, guys. And thank you, Barbara's Books. And make sure that you request a custom signed book plate. They're real cool. The publisher did them. They're super pretty.
Ooh, I haven't seen those. All right.
Bye,
y'all.
Love you,
Thank you, guys.